When my mischievous friends and I were 13 years old, one of the things we loved to do on Saturday nights was play a game of ding-dong ditch. This was around 10 years ago, when we all lived on the same street in a typical suburban neighborhood. Back then, there were fewer houses and more woods around. To protect the identities of my friends, I'll give them made-up names for this story: Mark, James, and Matt. Mark and James were usually the ones to ring the doorbells, while Matt and I were the ones who quickly found hiding spots. We usually managed to hit around 5 or 6 houses, and almost every time, the reactions from the people who answered the door were pretty much the same. They would come out onto their stoop, shout a few words, then go back inside. A few times we rang the bell again to get a better reaction, and one guy even yelled that he was calling the cops on us the second time he answered. We just laughed and took off running, hopping over to the next block. The neighborhood had changed quite a bit over the years, and by then, there were some patches of woods where houses used to be. The block we moved to was a little rougher, with unkempt houses and tall grass, and the first house on that block stood right across from one of these wooded areas. It was a perfect spot for us to hide. The house looked run down with a ratty old car parked in the driveway, and the whole place had a bit of a neglected feel. Mark, as usual, was the one brave enough to run up and ring the doorbell. He didn't even get halfway across the street before the door swung open, and a big, angry man, at least 6 feet tall and built like a tank, stepped out. This guy was furious. He immediately started pacing around his front yard, yelling and checking the bushes, looking for us. We all laughed it off, just like we always did, until he finally gave up and went back inside. A few minutes later, Mark decided to try his luck again. He went back to ring the doorbell, but this time, I could tell something wasn't right. The man came out even quicker, and to our shock, he was holding a rifle. He started searching again, only this time, he was much more thorough. He looked behind his car, behind the trees, and even scanned the lawn like he was looking for something or someone. After a few moments of silence, he stopped and stared directly at the woods where we were hiding. All of us froze, trying to stay as still as possible. It felt like an eternity, but eventually, after what seemed like 10 seconds of intense staring, the man walked back into his house. We all exhaled in relief, but we weren't out of the woods yet. We watched as the man appeared in his front window, standing completely still and staring directly at the woods where we were hiding, watching us. We saw Mark creeping up to the front door once again, but none of us had the courage to move or say anything. We were all too terrified to act. When Mark rang the doorbell again, he quickly ran off. But this time, the man didn't follow immediately. He stood there for another minute, as if thinking about something. Then, without warning, he turned and walked away from the window, and that's when we thought we might be in the clear. But then we heard Mark's voice yelling across the street for us to run. We didn't know what was happening until we heard someone sprinting toward us from behind. When we turned around, we saw it was the man, rifle still in hand, chasing after us. He was coming straight for us, and in that moment, we realized how serious things had gotten. We bolted as fast as we could, running like prey being hunted. We sprinted for blocks, not stopping until we were sure we had lost him. Mark explained later that he had seen the man sneaking across the street into the woods with his rifle, so he yelled at us to run before it was too late. We never reported the incident, and we didn't tell anyone else about what had happened. Just a few close friends, and that was it. Fortunately, the house was far enough away that we didn't have to pass it again, so we were able to avoid running into that man or his house in the future. But that night definitely left a mark on us, and we never played ding-dong ditch in that area again.